Hey, Stephen from Catch Crow Cook here, and today we are going to be propagating Fittonia or nerve plant. So I have this beautiful nerve plant that I got. It had 4 sprouts. I think it was like $5, and it might have had 2 layers. And so now you can see that if we look in here, oh man, it's tough to see on the camera, but they're quite tall. They have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of leaves on each stem. So I think it's a good time to kind of tighten it up a little bit so we can get a little bushier because it is starting to get a little leggy. But also I want to see when it comes to propagating plants, now that I've been dabbling in some hydroponics, growing some tomatoes and whatnot here in Oregon during the wintertime, you can either propagate them in water, which I think lines up with hydroponics, and this is just tap water, or I'm going to put them in soil. And so really this is just a test to see which of these methods propagates this nerve plant better. That way you can start trimming your nerve plant to make sure that it stays nice and bushy and looks aesthetically pleasing. And then once you get these cuttings, you can then just plant it in here so that way it fills it all out. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and we're going to see which of these methods, water or soil, works best for propagating. So stay tuned. All right, so let's get in real close so you can see what I'm doing to my plant as I start snipping off some of these tops so it gets a little neater, and then I'll also use these as my cuttings to propagate in my water and soil. Now, when you cut these off, you don't want to just cut off leaf by leaf. You want to make sure that you cut off effectively a little plant, right? So if you can imagine, if you chop off this top right here, this will actually probably do well because it's got 4 leaves. So you can cut off these 2 leaves here, and so that way the roots will shoot out of those joints, and then these 2 leaves will help the plant continue to grow. But if you want to give it a better chance, just try to cut beneath that even further, so that way there's more leaves for the plant or this little seedling to feed itself, and then these will start to shoot off roots. So that was kind of the cool trick that I've been learning. I'm sure to people that have been gardening longer, this is old news, but it's new to me. So yeah, just make sure you cut at the bottom of a joint, and that way you can snip these leaves and get the seedling to grow. So let's snip this guy right there. So you can see I have a little plant, and then we're just gonna cut that leaf off, and then that leaf off. So now that we cut off those 2 leaves, you can see, if I move this to the side, so you actually see it. So this is what my seedling is going to look like. So I got the 2 leaves cut off on the bottom there. So I'm going to do the same thing and just trim this up, and we'll see how many seedlings we have at the end of it. Alright, so here are the cuttings just to give you a look. And so we actually have one that is 1 layer of leaves, and I snipped the leaves down there so they can produce roots. We have 7 that have 2 layers of leaves still remaining, and then that's where the roots would shoot out. And then we also have 1 that is 3 layers. So we'll see if the amount of leaves helps the roots grow faster. It'll be a fun little experiment. So let's get these planted. All right, so for science, I trimmed one of the 3-leaf ones into a 2-leaf. So we're going to put one of these in soil, one of these in water, and we'll do one of these 2-tier leaves in soil and one of these 2-tier leaves in water. The rest I'm actually just going to throw in this water jar just because there's a little too many and I only have 2 pots. So yeah, just make use of what you can, but at least water, if that actually does work, it's going to be a really nice solution to just having too many cuttings, because then you can just fill a glass of water and just throw them all in there. But yeah, let's get these guys planted so we can then move on to the water ones. All right, just so it's totally transparent, I'm using black gold, the seedling mix. it looks like it is going to have about 70 to 80% peat moss, perlite, and organic wetting agent, yucca extract. That way it just doesn't get too soggy in here. I know these need to stay moist so that way the roots can develop, but we don't want it to be sopping wet. So let's fill these guys up with this seedling mix. And we'll fill this guy up as well. All right, both got seedling mix in them. And just literally gonna fill this with seedling mix, get the seedling or the cutling. I just keep calling it seedling for the life of me. And just gently push it in there. All right, looks snug. Just have to water this, but that's looking good. And that's the 2 leaves, or the 2 tiers. This is the 1 tier that just has 2 leaves. And push that in there. So now it looks snug. So I'm just going to wet these guys and let them grow, and we'll fast forward to that. And before we do that, we're going to just throw these guys quite literally into the mason jar. So that way the leaves stay dry, but the bottom part is in the water. And we'll see how these do. And I'm just going to throw all these in here, or maybe get another one. But we'll fast forward and see how these grow down the road. So stay tuned. So here are the plants. I had to use 2 tiny mason jars because there are too many cutlings. But you can see in each one that they're sitting beneath the water line. That way we should see some stems or some roots developing from those spots. And over here we have our soil cutlings that I put in a sandwich bag just because it will keep the humidity higher with these guys. So we'll see how they do. They're in bright indirect sunlight. This window is facing east, and I always leave it closed, but open enough so light comes in, but not direct light. So we'll see how these guys do in a few days or a few weeks.
2 weeks later.
All right, so this is really exciting. After 2 weeks, you can see right here this big root. The Fittonia cuttings that were placed in tap water are already starting to root. So you can see on even these guys over here, got smaller roots. This one as well. They're all just starting to sprout. So 2 weeks in, these are looking really good and healthy. We'll give them a few more days or even a week or 2 longer, so that way these roots get long like this guy. Let's see if you can see right there, like that guy. Just want to make sure we have more of them, and then we can transplant these guys back into the soil.
Much later.
All right, it's been 1 month to the day, and you can see these ones are growing roots here. This one I don't need to lift out. Those roots are getting real big. And we're going to see if these soil ones got some roots. So let's wash off the roots and wash off the soil and see if we see the roots. All right, so here we have the 2 cuttings that were planted in damp soil with a paper bag over it to create humidity. And you can see they have grown some nice roots. We have these guys up here sitting in water that look like they're doing pretty good, but not as big. But then, for whatever reason, these guys just grew huge roots. So let's pull one of these out. Oh man, so looking at that, I mean, it's doing real good. So just sitting it in water looks like it did a really good job in this jar. Oh my gosh, this guy's even coming out of the water. Holy cow. Versus this jar, they didn't have as much root growth, but still not bad. But in any case, we're going to replant these guys back into the mother Fittonia plant. As you can see where we cut it off, getting new leaves everywhere, which is very cool, very exciting on both sides. So this will get bushier, and as we put these new guys in here, this plant will get very bushy versus the legginess I was getting. So let's go to that.
Much later.
Hey guys, just wanted to give you a 3-month update of how this plant is doing since it got pruned. And you can see actually the places where it got trimmed. So right here, it has sprouted 2 new stems, and they're doing really well. So you can see that actually pruning these things early near the bottom will help lead to a bushier plant because I pruned these kind of high. But they're all doing super great. Super good over here. Sorry about the lighting. And yeah, you'll see that I actually cut some kind of low when I initially made the cuttings, and these things haven't really fallen off. They kind of just stay there, which doesn't look super great, but it's not bad. Whereas, let me see if I could find one. I cut one super high, like really high up, in the sense that I left a big tall one. I think this one might have been about this tall, and it actually just shriveled up and I could flick it off, which ended up being a lot better than trying to cut near the base of these things. But in any case, you can see down here, our little cuttings are doing great. They're all sprouting their roots, getting all the things they need. I know that these leaves are curled and they're a little brown. It's due to my house humidity being really dry during the winter since we have the heater on. But otherwise, this plant's doing great. Well, hopefully that helps you propagate your Fittonia so you can have a bushier, prettier looking Fittonia plant versus the leggy ones that just grow out and start falling over. Comment down below if you run into any issues, and hopefully this helps out. And yeah, feel free to subscribe if you're into catching, growing, and cooking your own food. That's typically what this channel is about. I just have some houseplants that I actually really enjoy keeping in my office. So, of course, with the growing channel, I want to make sure that keeping my plants looking spiffy as well. But in any case, if you want to see how you grow hydroponically, grow your own cilantro, tomatoes, etc., check out my other videos on the channel. And yeah, hopefully this helps you, and good luck with your Fittonia.